Yeah.
Everybody, this is
Hi, Freddie.
What's
Fatima
going
Warren.
on
Played for
here?
me at UCRM. Played for me.
Hi. And I'm driving, so I can only, and I'm on my cell phone, so I can only see like one picture, like one person at a time. So I just saw Freddie. I saw somebody that had UCLA on.
Yeah.
I don't know who that is.
That's
Hey, Matthew.
Hello, welcome.
Hi. Hey, Freddie.
How you doing? How you doing?
Honey.
Everything good? Everything good?
You've been reading? You done read all them books behind you?
All of them. I'm going twice over now.
He wrote the books. He wrote the books.
He wrote it.
Yeah. I'm going twice over.
Yes.
How are you?
Hey, things are good. Things are good. I'm enjoying being at home and being safe.
At home, right?
Yeah,
That's great.
Right. Yeah.
That's
How about
awesome.
yourself? You good?
How's Yardley doing? Yeah, I'm fabulous. Fantabulous.
Yeah.
I have
She's
no
30.
complaints.
She's 30. She's 30.
Yardley's 30? Oh my God.
Yeah, 30.
Well, Colleen just called me or texted me and was, wishing me a happy belated birthday, and
Yeah.
I had to share my age, and she's like, "Oh, that's young." I'm like, "Not when you knew me when I was 17."
Right.
Young.
You're right.
It's
Well,
like a Yardley
happy
thing.
belated birthday. Happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. You look good, Freddie.
Thank you. Same here.
It's good to see you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna jump. I'm grabbing food. I'm kind of in between. I just left a baseball game. I'm playing mama. I'm mama bear right now. So if I depart, at least I wanted to just say hi. I haven't seen you in so long.
Absolutely. Yes.
Well, if you depart, come back on.
Yes.
Okay, I will. How long do you guys think you'll be on?
For an hour.
I want to hear some of this. Oh, for an hour. Okay, I want to hear some of this.
Also we're recording it, so I can send you a recording as well. So
that would be great.
Yep.
Oh, that would be great. Okay, yeah, that would be awesome.
Fatima likes her things live.
Yeah. Wait, who is this with the glasses? I don't.
Oh,
Hi.
Sandra. Hi, Fatima.
Hi, Sandra. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Sandra played at UCLA.
You play? Okay. When did you play? When did she play? When did you play?
86 to 90.
86 to 90. So who was there? That you were there with Natalie? Was Natalie and?
No, it was before Natalie.
Yeah. Okay. I think Natalie might have been my year, 92. Right,
Yeah.
Colleen? Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Which Natalie? Natalie Woods or
Natalie
Williams.
Williams.
Oh, Williams. Yeah.
Natalie Williams.
I think she might have been our group. I'm trying to think of who else was there. Who did you play with, Sandra?
I played, let me think, people you may know, Dora Dome, who else? Sherry Bolden, Althea Ford.
Althea. I remember Althea. I remember that. I remember her.
Yeah, Althea, Sherry. Who else? Dana Childs. I don't know if you know any of those players.
Althea, I remember Althea, I want to say. I don't know about Dana.
Yeah, Althea. Everybody knows Althea, so I'm sure.
Wait, did Dana have like long curly hair?
No.
Okay, no, not her. Okay.
Okay.
I'm about to go in and look. Mama son, what you doing? You look awfully good.
I look fine.
There you go, Colleen.
You take her to my she looks fine. I don't know about all that.
I'm about to do my snack tips. Matthew, you want to start?
Yes, absolutely. Coaches, welcome. Welcome everybody, new and old faces alike, to the Growth Mindset Coaches Group. This is, man, I don't know, Colleen, is this our eighth or ninth?
I lost track. I can't count past 5.
This has been, it's been just a fabulous ride, and I know everyone's getting busy, so it might be a little harder to make the time. But like every week, our resident legend, Colleen Matsuhara, is going to start us off with her snack and music tips and the wonderful relation of women's basketball history. So Colleen, go ahead and start us off. We really appreciate you being
Okay,
on.
welcome everybody. Thanks for taking the time to join our Growth Mindset group. It's always a pleasure to look forward to Tuesdays. And as Matthew told you, I always start off with something light and informative. It's called my snack tips. So today, my first snack are mini moon pies. So Fatima, you would know about this in the South, but it all began in 1917 when a coal miner, he framed the moon with his hands and he contacted the local salesman and says, hey, can you make a dessert that is big as a moon? Later on, the baker made it a treat, and it was small, so the coal miners could put it in their lunch pail, and it's been with us ever since. It has a filling, it has marshmallow, wafer cookies, and chocolate. Now, this box is the mini size, so don't think I'm eating a whole big moon pie, for those of you who are moon pie lovers. Then the second snack I have today, now I took it out of the bag, my hands are clean, but I'm a cookie monster. So these are one of my favorite cookies, half chocolate and half butter cookie. And I limit myself to 2 in one sitting. So just to let you know, it's, I'm gonna eat it probably during the telecast. And then my drink for today, after doing something very unhealthy, the 2 eating items, I have organic apple cider vinegar drink. This is the ginger spice flavor. You have to acquire a taste for apple cider vinegar, but it's really good for your body. It does a lot of different things. If you Google it, I can assure you, you'll be surprised at what apple cider vinegar does. But this one here, like I said, is flavorful. You put some vodka in there, it tastes even better. Just kidding. So that's my snack tips. And now on for my music tips. I have a group that many of you probably have not heard about. This is a group, an ensemble, iconic group from South Africa. They're called Ladysmith Black Mambazo. And the name of the CD is called the Chill Out Sessions. This is an a cappella group that has collaborated with groups such as different as Paul Simon, Dolly Parton, Stevie Wonder, the Winans, and they also sing a soundtrack in Lion King 2. Okay, so it's very nice, chill out music. My second music tip is iconic because we have an icon speaking us today in Fred Williams. So Marvin Gaye, this is his CD that has Sexual Healing on it, and it's a very good CD for those of you who like old school R&B. Then my third tip, of course, I already talked about this in an earlier Zoom. Here we have our guest speaker, Freddie Bass Williams. Okay? His name of the CD is Trust Me. It's great.
Yay!
Trust whatever he's going to tell us today, okay? So for the history tip today, it just turns out ironically that, you know, we're going through all the championship teams. And today I'm talking about the 1983 NCAA Division I national champions who were the USC Women of Troy. And Fred was an assistant coach on that team. The Final Four that year was in Norfolk, Virginia. The semifinals was Louisiana Tech, who was the defending national championship, defeated Old Dominion in one semifinal. The other semifinal, USC defeated Georgia. So Louisiana Tech, the defending national championship, met USC in the final game for the national championship. And it was back and forth, back and forth. Each team had beat the other on their home court during the season in non-conference games, okay? And with 6 seconds left, USC was up by 2 points. Cheryl Miller got fouled for USC. Cheryl had a 1-and-1. At that time, there was no 3-point line. So had she made the first one, that would have ensured probably the victory. There was no 3-point shots. However, she missed the front end of the 1-and-1. Louisiana Tech got the rebound. They drove it down the court. And of all people to take the last shot was another icon, Kim Mulkey. She missed. So SC wins the title. The most outstanding player that year was Cheryl Miller, who many of you know is probably one of the finest women's basketball players to ever step foot on the court.
Right.
They also had 2 All-Americans, Cheryl Miller and Pam McGee. And Pam McGee later became a teammate of Sandra's on the LA Sparks. So that was our history lesson for the day. And because I do want to lead into Matthew's introduction of our speaker. And this is a special friend of mine. I've known Fred for, gosh, over 30 years. And I found an article, and I just want to read part of it. But his success on the court is unquestioned. It absolutely is. But more than that, it's his relationships and involvement with his players off the court that have come to define him. And Phoenix Mercury player Skylar Diggins Smith has got a couple quotes I want to share with you. And she said, Fred is what we call a player's coach in this league. I look to Fred as a mentor, somebody that I look up to. She continues to say, you know that Fred cares about you outside the lines and our development as women. He understands that as a pioneering coach in this league. He was really the one that fueled me and lit a fire in me. I owe a lot of my development to him. I'm Fred's biggest fan. Well, that's behind me, Fred.
Wow, that's awesome.
Okay, so I'd like to just lead into Matthew's introduction. So Fred, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Man, that's the highest compliment I think any coach can ever be paid.
Awesome.
I think that's outstanding. Now I'm going to go through your coaching accomplishments on the court, but nothing beats a quote like that from a player. I mean, that's unreal. Coach Fred Williams started his coaching career at USC, and we just heard from Colleen. And in the first 4 years, had 2 national titles and a runner-up in 1986 to the Texas Longhorns, who we have an assistant coach here in the room. So the success at USC right off the bat in his coaching career was evident. Coached Hall of Famers Cheryl Miller, Cynthia Cooper, Pam and Paula McGee. Just had an outstanding first stop in his coaching career. Then someone plucked him over to UC Irvine. Colleen brought him in as an assistant coach for a couple of years, and then went back to USC as an assistant and head coach. Had more success, 3 NCAA tournaments and Elite Eight, and then coached Tina Thompson and Lisa Leslie, just icons in the game. After his collegiate coaching, coached the Utah Stars as an assistant and then head coach, and then had a wonderful, and to the present has a wonderful coaching career in the professional ranks. He was an NBA Advanced Scout 2001-2002. He was an assistant with the Charlotte Sting from 2003 to 2005, where they made the playoffs every season, and had a stint with the San Diego Siege, where they were conference champions, and he was coach of the year in 2008. Then he went to the Atlanta Dream as an assistant coach in 2008. They made the playoffs 2008 through 2011, and then made the WNBA finals in 2010 and 2011. Coach Williams was also the head coach and GM from 2011 to 2013 for the Atlanta Dream. In 2013, they made the NBA finals, and he coached WNBA MVP Angel McCoughtry. 2014 to 2016, Coach Williams coached the Tulsa Shock. They made the playoffs, set the franchise record for wins, and he stewarded the franchise from Tulsa to Dallas for their transition to the Wings, where they made the playoffs in 2017 and 2018. They established and equaled the franchise record. For the Sparks, starting in 2019, Coach Williams has really brought him to knocking on the door of an WNBA championship. His success on the court, like Colleen mentioned, is unquestioned. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Coach Fred Williams of the LA Sparks. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you all for listening in today. Thank you, Colleen. Colleen and I go way, way back, like she said, with scouting, recruiting against each other, and just having a lot of fun coaching together. That was a good deal for us. As Matt read my resume is about 30 since 1983, and it's been all pretty much women's basketball. When I got into pros, this is my 23rd year in the WNBA. But in between that, when I first got in 97 to year 2000, I served as an advanced scout for the Utah Jazz and also for the Seattle Supersonics when they were around, and also the Sacramento Kings. So I've done some things on the off season and during the in season. Some of the things that's important for everybody as a coach and just as a person, and I think it's taken me a long way is just the loyalty to the game of women's basketball, but the loyalty to yourself and your staff and people around you, your players. And for myself, I'm always going to be me. I've never changed since day one of coming into this game. And it's just been a joy. It's been a joy and a good journey, and the journey is still rising. It's still going on. When I first got into coaching at Southern Cal in 1983, my assignment was to guard a few players, and those two players were Cheryl Miller and Cynthia Cooper on a daily basis as a practice guy on the other side. And I had a good 4 to 6 years of guarding those players, and then coming through the middle, meeting up with the McGee twins in the post area sometimes. So, those days are gone for me for us getting on the floor and trying to rip up and down the court. But my thing is just giving back, to the community of basketball, but the community of especially for women's basketball. That's very important for me, so we can keep growing the game. Matt, I think I'm gonna jump right into the PowerPoint. Some of the things I want to share with you all today is pretty much 3 things, and it's going to go by pretty quick because basketball is really broad with a lot of things that almost imaginable that you can think of, which is 3 things I'm gonna have is practice, game situations, and then player development. So when you look at practice and you talk about all these things, in my mind, I have quotes, and I use a lot of quotes with a lot of things. And, you want to create your own success story. Your success story could be a national champion, and your success story could be a person who has helped players advance and move on and do things. Your story could be 20 years at a mid-level university. Your story could be at a high school level. But whatever it is, create a success story where people can come back and say, hey, that person helped me. I'm proud to be a part of that person's life. And I just want to create a story for myself that is really true. On the second part of this, Matt, if you slide for me on slide 2, is with your mentors. A lot of the mentors that I've had for me, we'll slide back, Matt, with the mentors. There we go. Number one at top there, I got Colleen. And Colleen has been a very good mentor to me even though we worked for a short period of time at Irvine, we knew each other way before then and still way after that. But she's been a great mentor for me. Linda Sharp has given me the opportunity. You're welcome. Gave me the opportunity to coach. Pat Summit. I had many conversations with her when she was living and had some good battles and games against her group. And many things with Pat Summit, we talked about recruiting and about the Afro-American players and how to treat them. Carol Ross, I worked with her when she was at Atlanta. Jerry Sloan, rest in peace. He was a good mentor to me in Utah with the Utah Jazz, opened up his doors there, him and John Stockton and Karl Malone, them. Bernie Bickerstaff, his son is now in the league. Bernie was with me in Charlotte, North Carolina, coaching the Bobcats then. Pat Riley ran into him a few times in the locker room and places where we just sat down and had brief chats. And to this day, have a few chats now. George Raveling. George Raveling is just a great mind of basketball business. I had the great experience with that at USC with him because I was able to go watch his practices all the time and see how he operates. Trent Johnson, a great guy. He's now assistant coach at Cal. He was at LSU. He was at Stanford. He's at TCU, and he's just a great person to know. So I have a list of other people that's on there, that's not on there, but I don't want to take up all the time of going through that. 3 things my mentors advised me, and I've always kept this and I keep this on my wall, is pay close attention to people who don't clap for you when you win. That's important. That's something to think about, because you can be sitting next to somebody or coaching against somebody who wants to beat you, and then once they beat you, but then when you start beating them, they don't clap for you no more.
Yeah.
And then before you go to war, you got to first trust the person you're sitting next to, and that's important. That's important. I'm sorry that I got my motion detector going off in here. Before we go to war, so just make sure that the person next to you has got your back. Let's just put it that way. Trust is big, and then your style becomes your statement. My style became my statement when I saw Pat Riley. When Pat Riley had his hair slicked back and he's dressed all nice, I said, that's what I want. That's my style. And then my personality or style is I wanted to make sure I wanted to treat people as they would treat, as I would treat them. I want to be treated the same way. And so your style becomes your statement. Those three things stuck with me, to this day for a lifetime. I get right into the tools for practice. The tools for practice is all these things here that I have up here. And, these tools for practice, if you don't have it in the budget, if you can get in the budget, somebody have it or don't have it, find if you can get it. But I would say the number one thing, whatever you do for practice or even a workout, is have a camera. Video whatever you do. Try to do that because it only protects you. These days, a lot of people going to court on a lot of stuff and just minor things of reaction with players and all that. If you got evidence video-wise, you're covered. That's for sure. Shooting gun, I call it the Skylar Diggins shooting gun. I mean, her and I worked on this thing for 2 or 3 years, to get her shot right and get it going. And it took her, about 2 years to develop a three-pointer. So the timer is always you have to have a good timer, a person who can run the shot clock for you in practice. Tossbacks, I love tossbacks. If you can get 1 or 2 of those, that's your extra body when you don't have somebody around you. The rocking dummy. The rocking dummy is your football team has some out there that they can let you use during the season if you don't want to pay $500 or $600 for. So the rocking dummy is I use a lot of those props when I have guards going off screens, running my individual stuff with them and making it realistic. The trash can can take the place of a rocking dummy if you don't have that. Also, the trash can be good for if a player, went party the night before and they can throw up in the can. Just make sure you put some stuff up, put some stuff on. I've had a few of those before. The cones, I loved cones. I'm not a big fan of the small cones, so I really like the bigger cones. And some of these cones are free. If you slick at night, you can go out and get them off the construction site if you don't get caught and get some of the big cones there. But I like the big cones. And then the bigger cones, the tall construction cones is cool. The dots is great. And then the blocking pads, the eat pads, that's your beat 'em up. Always a physical game in women's basketball and men's basketball. And then whatever pads you can use would always be great for you to use. I'm gonna go through a lot of this, quickly and for us so we can have time that I can ask questions for you. The first thing, I go through is pretty much, when you talk about practice, you have to let your players know before you even get on the floor, what is these things you're talking about. And at the pro level, we get so many college players, I swear, they didn't even know what a slip screen is. Some of them don't know what flare mean, and some of them don't know what rim run mean. It's just unbelievable. I mean, about every 2 or 3 years, we say, I can't believe what have they been teaching them? And this is like top 10 players, okay? But here, I have a thing that we go through with our own team each year, especially the rookies, of how to conduct yourself, in a timeout situation. Is you want to up top there where it says home team is to round off and put a cup around the coach. The seating for this is that your point guards always sit in front of you. Your 2 guard sits on the other side along with your 4. Your 3 guard sits on the other side with the 5. So anytime you talk, the most important person you want to talk to on that bench is pretty much your point guard because she's got the basketball. And so you want to get the message across to her so she can give it to everybody else. Now, when I look over at some teams and I see a lot of, high school, college, even in the pros sometimes. Pros kind of wrap it up pretty good. But then you look at the visitors huddle, it's wide open. So you can have somebody look down and see who they're substituting in, who's sitting there, who's nodding their head, and who's going to get the play just by that huddle being open right there for the visitors team. So those are little secret things as assistant coach. And for myself, sometimes I'll be looking down the other end, and I can tell right away who's going to get that basketball. So when you talk about, the court, the main thing on the court is your dialogue. We have the sprint lane on the outside and the blue arrows. We have the rim runner right in the middle. We have the IQ area, and this is our terminology. The IQ area is where you make crucial decisions with the basketball. Giving it up, shooting it, slowing it down, running the play. And then you have the nail spot. Now, most players, I guarantee you, if you ask what players, where's the nail spot is, they can't even tell you that. It's a little bitty nail at the free throw line that's right there to measure out the court when they first started, and they left a little hole right there. It's called the nail. There's probably still a nail in there, but it's a hole. Jail is called underneath the basket. It's putting the player in the jail. And then the dunker spot. The dunker spot is pretty much, as we call in these days, is the short corner, but our dialogue is the dunker spot. So many NBA teams use the dunker spot. When you look at Milwaukee with the Greek Freak, when he goes up to dunk, or any of the players you see sitting right there just waiting for dribble penetration and dished off, that's because the big man is sitting at the dunker spot and going up, with two-hand dunk. So your terminology, laying this out for them early is important, because now, as we get over to the practice, Matt, we go to the next page. When we get over to the practice, I don't have to explain all this, because we got all this on Zoom, before practice for Zoom calls, before season started, we got all this down. So you talk about a pro practice. Let's take an example of this. This I put together pretty much yesterday, but this is kind of pretty much like a practice for us, a practice sheet. And, practice is practice 20. I usually have the coaches determine water breaks. I let players get water anytime they really want, but, not to be hiding over there and having a drink and having conversations. But, as a team water break, coaches determine that. Your practice plan should consist of, what practice it is, the day of the practice, the time of the practice, the site, and then who you're preparing for, what team you're preparing for. Announcements should be on there. You may have some announcements, who's absent today, injury lists, that type stuff. The head coach and assistant coach, they need to know those things, from the trainer who's injured. Captains. Now people say, why do you have captains, so many captains? That's because with us, we have 12 players, and I like everybody to have a responsibility as a captain. So I have our two main captains, and then I have two locker room captains, two travel captains, pre-game captains, making sure everybody's getting out, housing captains, making sure the apartments and everything is cool, and then curfew captains, making sure everything is getting right so everybody's not partying the night before. I have the thought of the day on there, which this one here says, keep your value up every day. I preached that to Sydney Weiss for the past 2 years, keeping your value up every day. I preached that to Skylar Diggins in her rookie year, her sophomore year with me. Keep your value up every day. Tina Thompson in college, keep your value up every day. That's important. Then I have on the side here with our teams, who's going to be in purple, who's going to be in gold. And then the most important thing, know your practice guys' names. You just don't say, hey, guy, whatever. You want to have your practice guys' names and just knowing, who they are. And so, John could get in for Bill go for John, Mark, or whatever. And I coach the practice guys just like I would do our regular team. Sometimes I have the practice guys come into the scouting when we go watch video, and they come in and watch the opponent so they can emulate what the opponent's going to do, so I don't have to explain too much on the floor, okay? So when you go down now on the side here in the gray area, you're looking at film session. This is 2 or 3 days for the game, or a day, almost every day, pretty much. Film session, 3 minutes, center circle, stretching. I'm not going to go through all this here. but it breaks down. I'm a big guy about time. Everything's got to be timed. You know, if you got a 1 minute and you get doing an X shooting drill, it's a shooting drill we do, you got to make 25 in a minute as a team. And then if they don't get to 25, they do it again. The most I've had a team do this is pretty much for 10 minutes because they couldn't get it. All right. So they just kept going over and over until they got it done and got it right. That gets them all warmed up. Some coaches put teams out there right away on defense and doing defensive drills. They're guaranteed to get hurt right away because they're not warmed up, their legs not warmed up, their arms and stuff. And so it's best to get shooting drills and stuff like that, your offensive things in first, and then, get into your defensive things later. Defense-wise in the middle, you're looking at shell defense, your transition defense, half court, and defending screens, re-screen action. Re-screen action is key. And then, there again, you want to have a shot clock on anything you do, and that's 20 seconds. It's 10 minutes. Say on number 8, 10 minutes on the clock, running time. You're going 20 seconds for defense and shell. That teams get off. So do not have your players go 45 minutes or a minute and a half on shell defense. I mean, that's not realistically in the game. Give them 20 seconds. They know they get 20 seconds of work. Next group come on and move on. And same with the other things going on here, okay, as far as the half-court defense and the re-screen action. Matt, we go to the next one. We go to the next slide. This is game day. This is my game day regiment here for is what we do on game day. And it's pretty much, film session, 30 minutes, warm up, group warm up, do X shooting again, get your shots in, moving around, pick and roll series, script the offense. And script mean a lot of players call it dummy offense, but we call it script. And then transition, transition attack offensively against the opponent's defense. You got 10 minutes to get all that in, what you're going to run and what you're going to do. And then you go 15 minutes on the opponent's scouting report. Some of their sets, out of bounds, sideline, and special plays. 5-minute free throws with no running, just kind of make a challenge type thing there. Recap, shoot around, cool down, and then media interviews is for about 15 minutes to 20 minutes afterwards. But there again, on the left side, you'll still see I document everything I do and put on here, for his date, time, preparation, who's absent, the captains, and then the most important thing is the matchups. Who you're going to match up against, in the game, because lots of times coaches have brain farts, and this helps when you have it in your hand. You look down and you can just see it all right there in front of you. So, just don't have a brain fart. This here saves you. This got your back right there of having this. And then going to the next slide, this is this coach's card. So you see, and myself and coaches look down out of the pocket and the card and looking at the card or whatever. It's an 8x6 cardstock, pocket size. You make this for yourself and the assistant coaches, the ones that you really trust, that's going to keep it and give it to nobody else, but you should trust them all. But I usually, give it to the lead assistant, especially the one who is had to scout for that certain team. This card, says who we're going to play, date, time, site, the officials, who the lead official is, the second, the third. That's important. The official's first name. You hate to keep saying, hey, official, hey, ref. Get to know officials by their name, because that's, they're human too. They like to have a little rapport with you. That takes you a long way. And then you have on the card, you have the secondary, your transition, what you're going to run. You write down half court sets, whatever, on down the end of the quarter, balance like that. On the back of this card, on the side, on the back of this card, you flip the card over, it's the opponents. The top 3 subs coming in, the best 3-point shooters, offensive rebounders, best free throw shooters, best passers. And I put poor free throw shooters because that's crucial. It could be 2 or 3 of them on there that you may need to foul at the end of the game, and it could win you 1 or 2 games of the season, just knowing then and there who it is. Because so many times you see teams scrambling around, flipping papers, and trying to figure out, who's the worst free throw shooter. No, that's it. You got it right there on your card. If that player's not in the game, then you look at your stat sheet and see who's missed the most free throws during the game, and then you go ahead and foul that person. and then you put some sets at the bottom of this card. But it's a 4x6 card that you can use, and it comes in handy. And then you can file it away. File it away to the next time you play that team and kind of recap some things. Next one on there. Okay, player development. Player development. If you have to push a player to get in the gym, then you recruited the wrong player. You recruited the wrong player. That means it's time for that player to go. In the WNBA, it's time to find that player or put that player on waivers. If you got to push them, then to go in the gym and work and do some things, and you told them 2 or 3 times, it ain't gonna work. You can keep doing it, and keep beating them to it. I know in college, there's back in the day of pushing some players to do some things, but after a while they got it. And I know back in the USC days, we had the Coliseum. When certain players didn't get it, we ran over to the Coliseum, ran the stairs. I had no problems the rest of the season. Okay, true story. McGee twins and Cheryl Miller. They let you know about that one. Okay, so you don't get what you wish for. You get what you work for. And those are quotes. So like I said, I use a lot of quotes and a lot of things.
Yes.
And that's what you tell players. What you work for. What you wish for, you got to work for it. And you got to go out there and make it happen. And that's just in everyday life. Next one up, Matt. Next one up, again, tools. Tools for your workouts, okay? All these tools here, again, is very important. I think the 2 main tools that I like in here is pretty much the rocking dummy, the timer, having a timer or having somebody who can run a shot clock or the clock for you. And then, the cones help a little bit, and your pads, and definitely the camera, just having that camera available. You may not have the camera all the time. You just got to really know what you're doing and what type of, player you're dealing with. Next one up, Matt, is, group individual workouts. This is only probably about 25% of the things that you're going to have to do and work out on before season starts. I mean, I don't have rebounding in here. I don't have setting screens in here. I mean, these are like individual or a group of threes. These things here, all these things here, I have drills for. I have certain drills in top of my head to do. In and out, dribbling, crossover between the legs, behind the back, spin move, dribble drag, speed dribble, all these things, especially that first category of change of direction moves, that's important for them to do every day. Perimeter drills, zipper, loop, drag, Iverson, you guys may call it something else, but all these things here, they got to be drilled on it. Post shooting, up and under, short corner, elbow, pocket pass, catching a pocket pass, spin move. Have a drill, 2 or 3 drills for each of those things, because if you just keep doing the same thing over and over again for 2 or 3 weeks, it gets monotonous, and then the player gets disinterested because you're not teaching anything different. Defensively, talking about on ball, pin downs, elbow, slice, all those things, trapping, that's all in certain drills that you do. And it's whatever drill that you have in your head, in your mind to do, the main thing is making that player and that person go 110% every time in that drill to get it out of them. And sometimes they may do it wrong, on a lot of steps, but if they give it that energy and that effort, they'll get it. They'll make it happen, and they'll get it. So, that's what I have in my PowerPoint presentation right then and there, right there. So if you, have any questions about anything, that I just kind of shot by you real quick, because I know we kind of, don't have a lot of time, but, I can go on forever talking about, different basketball strategies, the game, if there's any questions.
Fred, when you go scouting for people to draft or bring to training camp, what are 3 things, the 3 most important things you look for when you watch a player play, either on film or, in person and in college?
Yeah, I think the one thing, for is if I was coaching in college now, the first thing I'm looking at is just the attitude part, the attitude, the skill set, and then the other is, can they fit in with the program, with the team, what I have now, but I would say the number one thing is just their attitude. How do they work out in practice? I usually try to watch them in practice, if I can. I know college, I don't know all the rules now in college, but back in the day, we can go to practice every day. I sat in Lisa Leslie's gym for like, 60, 70 days straight. Back then we didn't have those rules. Now you have a lot of rules. You can't do that. But for the pros, there again, it's the attitude part. It's the part if they can make a difference with their athletic ability, and then if they been in the right culture, of a program where they come from, they have the right discipline to do things, and that's important.
So there are certain college programs that maybe you prefer to go draft their players or go look at their players.
I don't have a preference, myself personally.
Uh-huh.
I can, I can draft a player from Tijuana Tech as long as she, plays and, and do what she needs to do. Players. Of course, people want to get some from Connecticut. Some of them want to get some from Tennessee or whatever, from UCLA. Yay, Bruins. Yep. But I think from all over, it doesn't matter. If they're good and she's putting up the numbers, we'll come find that player and make an opportunity for them. Like you look at Wakana Williams, who plays for us from Miami. I've seen her years ago when she was in ninth grade, and I just knew then when I saw her when she become a senior that she was going to be that player is going to make a difference in her life and in her game, and she's done that. She's stuck in the league for quite some time, but it doesn't matter. Just long as they got the right attitude and the will to work hard, that's the player you want.
Hey, Coach Fred.
Hey, Rachel. What's going on?
Question for you, man. I got two questions.
Yes.
Number one, where can I purchase all those tools that you got to help your team succeed? I got a question, Coach Fred.
Yeah.
What have you learned from being the head coach and now being an assistant? What can you pass down? What kind of knowledge can you pass down for all of us to get where you are?
Well, I just say it's just pretty much one seat over, and the other seat over is hot. When you're assistant coach, and you get to head coach, and that's hot. The other thing I don't like, I don't miss about it. I love being an assistant coach. That's why I got in this game, and that's been my forte of things. But being a head coach was good too. But my thing, I just didn't like talking to the media. I didn't like to deal with that. I think the thing that, how you get there and make things happen is just being loyal to, the coach that you're with and the people around you, and especially the players, because the players read through a lot of things, and they talk to a lot of people, for as athletic directors and other people who may be involved in some decision making with if there's a change to be made. But you just want to let's just put it this way, you want to kind of like stay in your lane, but kind of drift over a little bit in the other lane, but really stay in your lane. You see what I'm saying? Because you have to keep the loyalty all the way around of what you do on and off the floor for your head coach. Whatever you can do to relieve stress or things for your head coach, you got to do it. You got to find a way. They say, hey, can you go 6:30 in the morning and work out Tina Thompson? I'm there. 6:30 more, I got you, coach. Because, sometimes the head coach can't do it. So I would just say, network, go to camps, clinics. These days it's pretty much the virtual, the Zoom, stuff, and get on there and just, show your face and be around and make contact.
I appreciate you, Coach Fred.
You're welcome. I appreciate you. And I see if I can get in my budget here and get all those tools. We got those tools. They just locked up. They just locked up for right now for next season.
Nice.
So, Fred, I have a question for you. What are the like when you were, what are the practices that you watched? What practices did you enjoy watching the most and that you learned a lot from?
Uh,
Like,
like from I enjoy watching Coach Sloan in the Utah Jazz for years. I watched his practices. You know, it was pretty much uh, really simple. A lot of fundamental work every day. I watched you know, Doc Rivers, you know, practices was very good. It was very thorough. The assistant coaches do a lot, have a lot of input. You know, Pat Riley the same way. I would say Pat Summit was another one. It was very thorough. But I tell you what, one practice I really enjoyed back in the day was watching Billy Moore, watching her practices and the things that she did on the floor. Um, you know, she's had some incredible teams and some great athletes through UCLA, and that's another, you know, person that I would say I put as a mentor from afar. You know, I don't talk to her every day, but just watching and doing things. And then, you know, of course, I think the top of my list would probably pretty much be George Raveling. He was very, very good of getting his players to you know, get ready and play. Anytime, you know, you get a coach can come from Iowa and come to USC and get things done. That's saying something. So he knows what to do.
Well, he had a presence about him, didn't he, George Raveling? He just had this presence that you knew you're going to learn something.
Right. Yeah. He's just really thorough. You know, his voice is got that raspy voice. You know, it was pretty much a East Coast guy when he played back in the day, but he got the message across and just taught everything. You know, on the court, off the court, and just phenomenal. I just had a great. I mean, that was just a freebie for me because I was there at Southern Cal back then.
Right.
I got a question for you, sir.
Yeah.
So say, you know, you're coaching in the college game now, and would you think that your recruiting style would differ any from having to do it all online as opposed to in person? Would what you're looking for change, or what, you know, would your checklist differ at all?
It probably would change. Well, I not a lot. I think because of the personality of really getting to, you know the player, having them feel comfortable with you and having conversation by phone. It's the hard part was having conversation by phone and not seeing your face. Now you get to, I guess, in recruiting, you get to see their face, you know, and have a conversation. So that's even better because you can tell if they're watching TV on you or not, you know. So that's a little different. You know, back in the day when I recruited players and tried to recruit players, a couple of things I did was I used to put a business card in everything I sent out to them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for every time I went, I put a business card. I don't care what it was, a thank you note, or I saw your game. I put cards in there. And you know, one player told me one time, and a couple of players told me, I says, God, I just can't help keep thinking about SC all the time because it's all over the house. It's in the bathroom, it's in the kitchen, and the car. So you just, you know, when I'm fighting against Stanford, Georgia, Tennessee, you know, all those players back then, I had to find creative ways to keep the name relevant and keep us in there. And that was one way. The other way was that I was a pretty good artist. I used to draw. I used to draw little cartoons on the note card there.
That's right.
And this true story, Tina Thompson would tell you that. She says, I kept all those cartoons that you have because I was just waiting to see what you had to put in the mail for me. And that just, you know, it just started a rapport where it just kept USC in the picture. It kept Irvine in the picture. I mean, Colleen and I, you know, Tina Thompson was big time, right? I mean, Colleen, we was like, okay, we're going to go in, but, you know, but she wanted us in there because of our personality and who we were. We just kept fighting and making things happen. But yeah, it'll be a little different. I think it'll be a little easier now because I can see that person's face and have a conversation, you know, versus just being on the phone and then, you know who's coaching them in the background over their shoulder. I'd give you one recruiting story. I went to a recruiting trip one time and we went up there. It was up in Oregon, and we went to this family's home and sat there, and the Doberman Pinscher, stood there the whole time looking at me like that. Every time, I mean, if I sneezed, I was going to get my ankles broke off. So yeah, we had some stories, and Colleen, we had some stories about the little mouse and all that stuff. Mouse in the
I
house.
was just going to say that, Fred, but since you broke it up, Fred and I went to make a home visit, and the recruit had an L-shaped sofa, and Fred sat on one side of the L, and I sat on the other. The recruit was sort of like in the middle. Well, halfway through our presentation, Fred is literally right next to me, sitting next to me on the couch. And I'm looking at him like, what is going on? Well, I didn't want to ask him. That was a big time recruit too. So
Yeah.
we got in the car. I said, Fred, what were you doing scooting over right next to me? He goes, you didn't see it? I go, no, what? He goes, there's a mouse on the couch. I go, oh my God, I'm glad you didn't tell me. I would have just run out of the house. And he's right about the business card. He broke our printing budget because we kept having to reorder business cards for Fred.
Yeah, I mean it works. I mean all that stuff works. I would say my worst recruiting trip ever for me was recruiting a player out of Florida, and the trip was set up, through another assistant, and then I was going on, but the head coach told me to go because I had to. So I went by myself to this recruiting trip all the way from LA to Florida. I flew all the way to Florida. I get there, talk to the player, the night before. So I get all the way there and, knock on the door at 5:30, and the mom looking at me like, can I help you? I said, I'm Coach Fred from USC. That says, well, knew you were coming, but she's over at University of Georgia right now. I was like, oh my God. I like, really? I like, really? Yeah, she's over at Georgia right now. I just talked to her yesterday. She said, oh, I'm sorry. So yeah, that was my worst. That was a trip where I was cussing all the way there and all the way back. I didn't need to fly a plane. I was just yeah, that was my worst one. Where you from?
I'm glad to know the truth. I'm glad to know that.
Okay. What's that, Fatima?
I said, I'm glad to know the truth. I'm glad to know that I got Tina Thompson's scholarship. Thank you, Tina.
Right.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Well, was it his cartoons, Fatima? Did you like? He really was a great artist.
I'm going to say this. So it's not even, at this point, it's not even a question. I just want to tell you thank you. Because you've been an instrumental part of my life. And I was joking with you guys earlier about Colleen asked me about my age. I'm 17 is when I first came in, and it's 30 years. And I'm still here, and Freddie's still a part of my life. I just took my son, who's now 13, and this goes back to the loyalty and a part of who you are, I just took my son to a game about 3 or 4 years ago. We were in Dallas, and he's 13, and Freddie continues to be a part of my life, and it means a lot to me. It doesn't matter where you are, where I am. Colleen called me and was like, Freddie's doing this, and I'm like, I haven't seen him in a while. I call and I text every so often, so I'm very thankful. I want you to want you to know that you've been a very instrumental part of just who I am. And I appreciate you for being a part of my village.
Well, I appreciate that. That's what made coaching. For me, everybody talks about, the money and all that stuff. And money is good, but the main thing is just the loyalty to the players that you help and come along to become not only just teenagers, but grown women, and strong women. And for me, every player that I've pretty much coached has come back, and I had conversations, about life and about the game of basketball. And I appreciate that, coming from you. That means a lot to me, and it goes a long way, for me. I don't want to start crying right now, but when we get off, I might start crying.
I do want to say this, Fatima, and everyone on the line now. For those of you who don't know Fred, a lot of us know him from college. We both work together, but in all my years of knowing Fred, either recruiting or coaching against him, with him, I have never to this day, one person have I ever heard one negative thing about him. He's in the game for the right reasons. And I mean, Skylar Diggins, her quote is that, you know, he's a player's coach, and players know that he cares about them, and he's just a great person in our industry, our profession, and we're just fortunate to have people like him. And I wish there were more like you, Fred.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I leave the last one here is somebody had a question for me as far as recruiting in the pros. And I'd say that my biggest recruit of putting this player back into the league has been Liz Cambridge from Australia. You know, she's 6'9". You know, she came back. When I took the Tulsa job, she wasn't there. She left a year before because she was drafted by Tulsa. When I took the Tulsa job, I said there's, you know, a couple of players I got to connect to and get them going. And that's one was Skylar Diggins, which, you know, I flew there 2 days after I got the job. And then I had to recruit Liz Cambridge for a whole year from, you know, Australia to come back and play for me and play for us. I never had a chance to play for her. I never really met her other than just talking to her on the phone, you know, by Skype. But we developed a player-coach's relationship by music. We just talked. We talked about music and talked about other things. And that's been one of my biggest joy in helping her get back on her feet and getting back and being one of the best post players in the world. I see Cal Poly Pomona in the background there. There's Cal Poly Pomona chilling back there. Okay. Who else I got over here? Now, Mark, you were from where?
University of Toledo.
Toledo.
Mhm.
Holy Toledo. Okay, baby, I got you. Who's in the corner over here now? I got Miller, Mr. Miller. Yeah.
Yes, I'm from Campbell University, Pierre
Okay.
Miller.
Yeah. All right. Yes. Tony.
Yeah. Hey, Fred.
All right.
Good to see
All
you,
right.
man.
Nice seeing you.
Sorry,
Yes.
I've been busy. I'm cooking chicken parm right now, so I got one extra serving if you get over here real quick. So
Yeah, I have to take one of those nonstop flights. I can't be taking those, you know, connectors from Dallas to get there. Yeah. I see the
Hey,
other Tony. The other Tony. There's Tony
Tony's
there.
the one that's at South Dakota now, right, Tony?
Yeah, Northern State University.
Where?
Northern State University.
Okay, that sounds cold, man. Is it cold there? That sounds real cold. Yeah. Oh.
Hey, Fred, I got one question for you.
Yes.
It's so in getting players ready for the pros, what do you see as like 2 or 3 things that the rookies need? You know, more tutelage on, help right away to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
Could be anything from passing skills, shooting, film breakdown, communication. Like, what are things that are going to help somebody young to find their way in the league?
Wow, you just put it all in the ball of wax right there. I would think the main thing is just the dialogue. You know, what is a, you know, flare screen? Like I said, some players come in our league, don't even know what a flare screen is, don't even know what slip. They don't even know what zipper is, you know, zipper cut, you know, L cut up, just the dialogue, and just kind of get them really broaden out with the dialogue, you know, of the game. You know, the short corner, dunker spot, you know, nail, because in our game, we don't get a lot of practice. It's mainly we practice maybe 2 or 3 times before we play, maybe 1 time before we play the next opponent. And we play maybe 3 games a week, you know, maybe more than that if it was, you know, we didn't have this, you know, this Corona stuff going around. But I would say get them prepped with their ball handling. Defense, anytime you can really stabilize them defensively to understand of getting 1 foot in the paint on the weak side and cutting the court in half and recovering out. And, you know, we're a big stickler on stick hand, you know, coming out hot, you know, hot closeouts, you know, coming out there hot with a hot closeout and stick hand up. I think Kevin Garnett does it the best, you know, when he played back in the day. And, you know, if you can get them to just get that one hand up quickly and just, you know, understand the dialogue of the game. The rest of it, you know, for us to draft that player, they've already got the other tools, and that's their playing ability, you know, to get up and down the floor. But it's the little bitty things that we see that needs to be done. And I think if you can get that in their mind early, defensively on the weak side, helping and just learning the terminology of the pro game. I know the college game, some college teams don't even want to deal with pros. They don't want to deal us. But we go in ourselves to watch practices, sit down. If I was in LA now, I would probably go and watch Cal Poly Pomona practice one day, or go to a high school tournament, or even go to an AAU tournament. Here in Dallas, I go right up the street and watch some of the club teams, play. But I just like basketball, like, giving back to the community and pretty much giving the advice that I've had for over the years from some of my mentors.
I have another question.
Mm-hmm.
I have another question, Fred.
Yeah.
You have a lot of games, so you don't have a lot of time for practice. So how do you do that? How do you keep your players like all together and in shape? Like, do you do a lot of individual practices? How do you do that?
Well, we have a player development coach. We have a strength and conditioning coach, with our trainer. Our trainer really stays on top of them, what we can and cannot do. And, for us, especially having a lot of games, that format I showed you about practice planning and game cards and all that stuff, that's important because, we don't have to really go and make that up all the time. We use that. That's like a formula for us for every game, for every practice. And we just pencil those things in. But yeah, I think the trainer is the most important part of everything these days, of knowing the body. I think your player development players that are out there before you get on the court as a head coach or assistant coach, getting shots in with the players helps a lot. And making sure they're working on the right things that you want to have done. The worst thing to do as a head coach, go out there and see a player doing something that you like, we're not doing that. So they just wasted a whole 45 minutes to an hour doing some things. So that's where the loyalty comes in as an assistant coach. You may have some ideas of your own, but you want to tweak it some, but you definitely want to do what the head coach wants you to do and make it happen.
Okay.
I've got a question for you, Fred.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
In Atlanta, you had for a couple years, you had the dual head coach and GM titles. How was that experience for you, and would you ever consider that again?
The experience was good. I would do it again. The GM part, it takes a lot to work at, because the thing is, you got to deal with the player's contracts off the floor, and then you got to go on the floor and deal with the players. So if you gave less money to a player, they mad at you because you're the GM, but you're the coach now. So, taking off one hat, put on another hat. But yeah, I would be up, for that to happen. I thought it was a good challenge for me in my coaching career to take over, and it was one of those controversial times where the coach was let go, and ownership comes in and says, okay, well, you're now the GM and head coach. So what do you say? You're like, well, you say you can go or not, but I just think I would do it again. It's good, but I'd rather have just the head coaching title separate from the GM part. But I would definitely would consider that, because I've had both hats before.
Thank you. Coaches, any other questions for Coach?
Is Steve Yang on the call?
Yeah,
I am.
Steve, you've got to have a question.
I know. I feel bad, Coach. Thank you so much for being on. I always typically have questions, but I got on a little late. I just got off a recruiting call, and I've been a fan of yours. I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma, so just kind of following your career. And you actually work with Coach Tremmel, and she's a legend in my backyard.
Yeah,
still is a legend.
Yeah.
No, but it's great. I guess, and I don't know if you guys talked about this. I apologize for coming in late, but how is it working with Derek Fisher with his experience with the NBA, and is he implementing some NBA type structure, atmosphere into the WNBA there?
He is. I think he understands about the players, space, for us needing rest, rest and stuff like that. He's been on that pro level for years, in different practices with coaches and stuff. I think he's, implemented a lot of things culture-wise, changing the culture. He's all about family, and doing the right things. He knows that it's going to take a while. It's not going to be a sprint. It's going to take, a while for things to really click in and happen. And, just coming into something that, working with him has just been a joy for me, just to understand the different side of what the NBA has been like for him, and take it over to the WNBA side, just like vice versa. He can latch on my shoulders of what, it's like being in the women's game for over 30, 40 some years, and, where he could, lean on and understand the women's game a lot more. And he's done that. He's done that in a short period of time, and he continues to work hard at it each year.
Coach. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
No, I was going to say, so Steve, so Fred, would you say that when Derek first got the job that he had a rather steep learning curve on how to coach women?
He's been around it. I won't say the steep learning curve. I think he's been around it. It was just a matter of being in it.
Okay.
And then being in it and stuff, it made him, really, see the different sides of what the men have and what the women don't have. And, Colleen, he is definitely a stickler and fighter for, trying to make for growth for the women's game. He's trying to make that happen. Also trying, to coach a team and trying to win. But it was a little different for him, but I think he's really have turned the page and really seen the light of what the women's game is all about, and which direction it's going. And I can only say it's going up.
Hey, Coach, I was going to say,
Mhm.
not really a question. When I was working a year under Kevin Cook, Kevin at
Kevin Cook, yep.
Yeah, good old Cook. And he ran that program like he was back with Van Chancellor, the Comets. I mean, we treated our players like pros, and they understood. We didn't do curfew and all that, but they just totally understood what was, how we handle things. And so I see that, and I don't know how other programs are, but I think if you have an understanding about it, and his mindset was all about the pros, and I thought it was very good management in regards to the college level to the pros. But
yeah, he's Kevin is he's been on that level of champions and winning and stuff, and he's a basketball nerd, man. He really gets into things, and there's two things about coaching in the pros, and one is a good job, and then one is no job. Okay, there ain't no in between. That's just point and simple right there in the pros. So, if you can stay in it, I've been in it, like I say, for 23 years, and I'm very fortunate to have good people and good players around me. I think those people have been my resume, for me, versus putting it on the table and then somebody read it. And I think it's important. Your approach to a player or any person is important. Your approach to them is important. Your first word, how you talk to people, is important. And that's some things you have to change with some college players who don't know how to relate to certain people or players, And I've had a player back in the day who would call the ADMF and blah blah blah, and I said, whoa, we can't, we gotta change all that. We gotta change all that. And this player would tell you that it's the truth. It took about a month and a half to break that player out of it, but once she got out of it, she became not only just a college student, but she became a woman, and probably one of the best women in the world.
And Coach, real quick too, and I'm assuming that's pretty important, because I was talking to, I won't mention the coach's name, but he's in the WNBA as a coach, and he mentioned one of the reasons why they didn't draft her players because of her off the court stuff. Like not that she was bad, but she was a heck of a player. It's just the off the court, like her nonchalant type character, emotions and whatnot. How much of that emphasis do you guys put in? I know the NBA is a little different too, but at your level, do you guys really emphasize on that, especially with the Sparks?
Yeah, I mean, it's if the player's really kind of nonchalant and just, like I said earlier, and if the player, if you got to push that player with 2 feet to get in the gym, then you pick the wrong player. So, but if the player is pretty good and got skills and, pretty much as I would call a gamer, just like, I just want to play a game, and but you get into a draft when that player is one of the top 3 or 5 in the draft, and that player sitting there, and people looking at you, well, you got to take that player. Like, well, yeah, I got to take that player. So you would draft that player and see what she like, but she was very high in the draft, and she becomes more. There's more value there because she was picked like number 4, number 3, and so you get some more value and get something else that you really want if this player doesn't work out for you. The best thing about the pros is that they ain't working out. You go down that waiver wire, you ain't got no guaranteed contract, you out. College, you kind of like, well, we got to march up to the AD office and talk about this and see where we can, you got to sit on that scholarship for a while. But in the pros, you out. You ain't doing the right things. Player comes up and say, well, I'm not getting enough playing time, in the pros, blah, blah, blah. First thing I tell them is, well, it's time for me to start finding you another home. Plain and simple, because there's a reason why you're not getting enough playing time. And I, put it down there for you. Here's your role. This is it. And you have to fulfill that. So let's move on. But yeah, you can kind of be really more aggressive, I think, in the pros, on that way, on that level. And college, I love it. I love college. And I could take my hat off to all of y'all because you all are lawyers. You got to document everything you do. Am I lying? You got to document everything you do. You got to worry about your phone calls, what you're saying on there and stuff like that. I commend you for that, because back in the day, we didn't have to worry about that. Like I said, we can sit in a recruit's gym all day long and watch them, play, perform, and do things. These days, it gives you a little rest to document some things, but also give you a little rest where you don't have to be in the gym as much.
Fred, would you go back to college and coach?
It'd have to be a right situation for me. It really would. I mean, the money, it's gotten a lot better. And I can share the money that I got when I first started was $500 at a Pinto. That's no lie. $500 in a Pinto. And I remember going over to Linda Sharp, says, I don't know if I can do this. Next, she says, let me tell you what. She said, if you keep doing what you do and keep making us better, you're going to go places, and this is going to lead to a great career for you. And I always kept that in my mind. But yeah, I $500 in Pinto, I was happy. I was happy with that. Now, you can't do that these days, $500 in Pinto. You blow up. Yeah, that ain't happening. So, no, just
It was the Pinto car?
Huh?
It was the Pinto, the car, not a
Pinto.
Pinto.
Pinto was the car. The one that if they ran in back of you, it blew up.
Yeah, I know. I remember.
So I don't know. I don't know if I was getting set up or what, but I still drove that thing, recruiting trips. I get out to the recruits' home. They go, "Oh, I feel sorry for that coach." I was getting some sorry points there, man. Pulling all the tricks out.
Fred, I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
Ever have like a I guess like an aha moment, like something that you thought you knew as you transitioned from like college to the WNBA, and got to a point to where you were like, ooh, I don't know if I was doing that right. And how did you fix it?
Aha moment. That's a good one. An aha moment. I would say it was at the beginning of like my practices, in the pros, from college, because I was formatting my practices like college, and I just couldn't do it that way. In college, you can go for like, 2.5 hours, 2 hours. Pros, I had to break it down to like an hour and a half hour, 20 minutes and get it in, because those ladies, the pros, they play overseas, and then they come to us and play during our winter, a summer part. I would say the aha moment for me, the big one, was when I first got into the game. Okay, and I was really, gun ho and rattling, getting after it, and I'm a guy, and I'm just like, yeah, come on, get up, make the layup. You're not making a layup, get on up. And then Little Sharp tapped me on the shoulder and says, Fred, let me tell you, these are ladies. There's a month. There's a month. She's being nice about this, but there's each month there's something happening with the ladies. You know what I'm saying? And I said, oh my God. Okay, so that's my aha moment. I was like, okay.
Like,
So
welcome
that's
to our world.
yes, you're right. So I've learned. I'll try to put that in a nice way, but I that was the first thing I learned. Like, okay, I got you. Yeah, but yeah, that's deep.
Well, Fred, didn't I read something recently where another thing you instituted when you started coaching in the pros was you played music at the beginning of practice to sort of relax them and make them feel like it was a safe place to practice? Because I remember I came to watch you practice at Utah and you had music going. I go, what's up with the music, Fred? And you said, I always play it.
Yeah. I did that back in the USC days with coaching with Tina now. And Tina would tell you that to this day, Thompson would tell you today. So now she says, now I know why you play music. She says, now I know. And this is why I play music, because I would go to Utah Jazz, and hear music going, and and it wouldn't be for a whole practice, but playing out loud and stuff. And I, asked Coach Sloan, I said, why do you all play music at the beginning, pretty much half of your practice? He says, Fred, have you ever heard of a quiet gym? He says, if I'm gonna have noise, I might as well have music. And he says, the music makes their ears, music soothes them a lot, long as to get music and upbeat and no profanity and stuff. But
you mean like this kind of music?
Yeah, like that. Yeah, yes, like that. I give them a little, little Jay-Z and all that stuff going in there too. But as long as it's instrumental, that way I can talk over the music. And usually the music plays between stretching, shooting drills at the beginning. But then when it comes down for a team as a whole, we cut the music off, cut it down. Sometimes I cut it down low. But music helps, man. I mean, some coaches, old school coaches back then, they just didn't have it. No music, no box, no whatever. No. In our USC days, we had music. In my coaching
UCLA plays a lot of music at their practices. Good music, Tony and Tasha.
Yeah. Music is the deal. It would make them feel much. If they're having a bad day and they hear their favorite song on, oh, they ready now. Okay, they old and popping. Yeah. Any other questions?
Hey, before we get off, I do want to say I dug this out for you, Fred, and for Sandra.
Oh my God.
I have to put it on for today.
Yeah. I had to put mine away. Just got knocked out of the playoffs the other day. So,
How far did you have to dig?
Huh?
You didn't find it. Colleen.
What was your question?
I said, how far did you have to dig? I know you have everything all like organized.
Oh no.
Yeah, Colleen got everything organized. She got
it's like you didn't dig for it.
Yeah.
Tell the truth.
Yeah.
Well, I knew what pile to dig in. Okay.
Yeah. Wow.
First I had to find my cookies.
You didn't tell us the name of them. What's the brand? What is that? We got the moon pies.
It's just sold at a local grocery store at Bella O'Reilly's. It's called, chocolate vanilla cookies.
Hey, Colleen.
Half and half.
Colleen. In our neighborhood, we can call that moon pies.
Well, thank you, Fred, for being on today. And everyone, if only you knew some of the stories that Fred and I were talking about. When Fred came and worked for me my first year at UC Irvine, he and the other assistant, who at that time was Annette Smith, it was going to be our very first day of practice at UC Irvine. I was still in my office. These two come running in my office, slam the door shut, and just collapsed on the couch. I go, what is the matter? They go, Coach, we just went in the gym and saw our players. I go, and they just said, they can't even make a layup.
I might need close here.
No, that was before. That was before.
That was a year
That
before.
was for you. Yeah.
They were close to tears. I said, get back out there and stop having a pity party. It's our job to make them better, you know.
Right.
But it was true. They could barely make a layup. I mean, it was. We spent many a meals after practice talking about
True
what
story.
we get ourselves into.
True story. 6'4" and 6'3" couldn't. I mean, they were like bricking on the other side. Like I was like, dang.
First of all, they couldn't catch the dang ball.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
I have something I will ever have forever, ever, ever. And I don't know if it'll ever come to a time, but if anybody needed some incriminating evidence,
Yeah.
I have a pair of leopard.
It's time for Fatima to leave. I think somebody's calling you in the background.
Leopard swimming
It's time.
trucks. Got a
Yeah.
picture. Not a pair. I don't have them personally. I have a
Yeah.
picture.
Okay. Yeah, we just keep. All right, here we go.
Oh, well, I can keep.
Here we go. All right.
I'll send the picture to the highest bidder.
I forgot about that, Fatima.
Yeah.
Love you guys. Thank
All
you.
Thanks for listening.
Hey, Steve, tell Coach T, I call her Coach T. You still talk with her? Your mic's
Yes.
out. Your mic. Yeah, you do.
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. Just tell her. I'll probably talk to her tomorrow, but yeah,
Yeah.
she was in the bubble with Coach Fisher this year. I opted out of the bubble before because it was a hotbed for Corona, and so I was considered, which I put a new label out there, virtual coach. And so what I had to do as a virtual coach was all the scouting, which I saw 102 games within the time frame of the WNBA season. So I scouted all the games, got all the information, and it was a tough job, but no tougher job than what those ladies been through in that bubble and the coaching staff. And I thought Coach T and Derek handled that very well.
Yeah, they did. They amazing job. And you guys talk about your players that couldn't make a layup. I mean, I'm not saying they couldn't, their players couldn't, but it's a totally different roster, really. It was. And so
yeah. So
did a great job.
Yeah. Just keep pushing. Keep pushing on.
Well, Coach Williams, I got to say, man, I really appreciate you coming on and spending time, but really every minute that I've gotten to know you a little more, and we've exchanged emails, and I hear people talking about you. I mean, the way you connect with your players and the impact you're having on lives. I mean, listening to Fatima talk, I mean, it's just, that's what coaching is all about. And you know, I really, I want to say you've given me a vision to aspire to, you know, in my coaching career. And it's been a real pleasure. And I hope to keep up with you, and I wish you all the best. And thank you so much for taking the time to be here today.
I thank you very much. I appreciate all of y'all coming on and listening, and I'm seeing your faces. I know when I get back into LA, I live in Dallas, Texas, but during the season I'm in LA. I'm in and out, and if I ever get a chance to, well, I don't know what the rules will be for getting into the arenas and gyms, but if I could, I'd try to come see y'all play and perform and see your coach. I'm always pulling for young, expiring coaches out there, and y'all look so young and expiring because I'm getting up there in age. So
Age ain't nothing but a number.
like I say, all these books back here, I'm getting ready to read them again. See what I missed.
Nice seeing you, Fred. It's so
All
nice
right.
seeing you, Fred. It was really nice seeing you.
Pleasure. Yes, absolutely. All y'all.
Hey, I have a question for Danelle Bishop from Cal Poly Pomona. Danelle, did you go there and play?
No, I didn't play there. I've just been coaching there the last 10 years. I went to University of Florida out of high school, and then I transferred to a D2 school in Texas.
Which one?
Tarleton State.
Okay.
I think they're going D1 this year. Yeah.
That's in Stephenville, right?
Yep.
I've been there many times when I was recruiting in Texas. Stephenville, Texas.
Yeah.
And then did you go to Delta College and play for Gina?
Yep. I transferred in between and played for Gina at Delta, and then coached there before I got my first head coaching job at Azusa Pacific.
Okay.
So I learned a ton tonight, Coach. And
Oh, thanks. I appreciate
really
it.
appreciate it, man. This is awesome.
Yeah, I've had, many, whatever, you communicate through Colleen or Matt or whatever. And, if you have any questions, sometime I have little Zoom calls myself with different coaches around the country, just on drills and personnel stuff. But, Matt and Colleen know how to get a hold of me.
And I think Fred is going to share his slides if you want it, right, Matthew?
What's
Matthew?
that?
Yep. I can share. I can share the stuff.
Fred will share all his slides with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, hey, that's free. Like Lynn Dunn said a week ago that, hey, you take it with you and do whatever you want to do with it, put your name on it or whatever, run with it. We all taking things from everyone else. And, I'm just, thankful for the Lord to be here and be a part of seeing your eyes and seeing you all help the game grow. Let it be women's basketball, let it be men's basketball, but just let it be basketball, period. Let it keep growing and get big. Now I got to run out of here, Colleen, because I got a meeting here
No
at
worries.
10.
I'll talk to you
10
later.
minutes.
I'll talk to you
Yes.
tomorrow, Fred.
Okay.
Thank you, Coach.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Coach.
Bye. Take
Bye.
care.
Appreciate it.
Hey,
Thank you.
Mark,
Okay.
Mark Stevens, could you be sure and say hi to Trish Cullop for me?
I definitely will. She said I exchanged emails or something sometime today or yesterday or something like that.
I sent her an email about this link. I was,
Okay. Yeah, I shared it. That Matthew gave it to us.
Okay.
And I shared it with the rest of our staff. So
Okay. Tell her it'd be nice to see her one day when she's not busy running the WBCA
yes, ma'am.
and running her own program, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And then is Coach Carr still on the call? Chris, are you still on the call? Coach Carr?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Oh, it's nice of you to join us. And I asked Ebony to video you of that shooting drill so I could show my godson, if you don't mind. I don't know if she's done it yet, but I really enjoyed
No, she has discussed that we have had an inordinate amount of meetings over the last 10 days and trying to get ready for our increased practice time. So we've been kind of busy, but I'm definitely gonna get on that for you.
Okay, no worries, but I had told my godson about it, and I think just for him to be able to visualize it. Fatima, he told me a drill to tell Zion, so that's why I'm,
I figured that's what we're speaking of.
yeah.
Cool. Very cool. With you. I'm gonna go. Bye. It's nice meeting everyone. Everybody be blessed.
Thank you, Fatima. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Bye, Mama, son. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Matt, for doing this, man. I'll be able to get the recording from you another time, right? Okay, sweet.
I'll send it out to the Variety Coaches group for sure.
Okay, appreciate it, man. Thanks. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, Fred is just a good guy. If he comes to town with to play the Mystics, if you reached out to him in advance, I'm sure he could either come by or maybe you could go by and pick his brain.
Oh, for sure.
When and if things open up.
What's the chances of us getting him in Toledo?
Yeah, exactly. Well, who knows? He might come watch one of your players.
Or players.
Right?
Yep. What's funny is coach does our team tip-off dinner, and for the last 4 years, every coach he's had come in has won the WNBA championship. So because of COVID this year, we haven't had a chance we didn't do it this year. So it's gonna be interesting. She said who wins it this year. So the last 4 years, they've all talked at our dinner.
So Mike Tebow came in the year before
Mike Tebow, Cheryl Miller. I'm sorry, Coach Reeves, not Cheryl Miller. I was listening.
Reeves.
So then, the last 4 have all been at our tip-off dinners.
Oh, that's great. That's great. But are you going to do a virtual tip-off dinner?
We haven't decided yet. Yeah. That's what, she's great at fundraising, so we're trying to figure out that next thing to do. So
yeah. Because you guys get great crowds, huh? At your games.
Yes, ma'am.
That's awesome.
Some coaches spend money on recruits. She spends money on donors to get them out. I'm just kidding.
It all comes back to you.
It does. It comes back. It really does come back. I don't know if people understand that, but no, it comes back.
One hand washes the other, Steve. One hand washes the other.
I agree. She's a good boss to work for, man.
Yep. Yep. So anyway.
Hey, Matt, thank you so much, Colleen. Appreciate you guys. Mark, we'll probably see you Thursday, but thank you guys for doing this. And
Yeah, Matt, thank you.
Of course. Thanks for coming on, Coach.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it.
You
Great-
got
great
you got
seeing
someone that
Chris. Thank you, Chris.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Chris, Matt, you got somebody for next Tuesday already?
I'm working to fill it, man. You got somebody to suggest?
I was just
I
was
got
just
some emails out. I haven't gotten any confirmations.
No, it depends. Are you looking for anything in particular, or just anybody? It doesn't have to be pro, college, or anything like that.
Nothing specific, but like Gina mentioned last week that SEMO or Nova Southeastern coach in Florida. I reached out to him, see if he wanted, because I started to look at his numbers. His offensive numbers are unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so I thought, man, that'd be great if I could get him. So I've reached out to him, a couple other coaches, but I have not been able to confirm anything. So, so if you think of someone or have someone in mind,
if it's me, I'm not trying to tell you how to do your thing. I would reach out to the legendary coaches out there that you still have opportunities to try to extract some information from them. The guys like Gene Best would be hard. Gene Best, if you know Gene Best, he's one of the all-time winningest coach ever. And he just retired maybe a year ago, I want to say. And he coached Latrell Sprewell. He's part of the bigger names, but at a junior college. So he would be a good one just because he's so knowledgeable. And I'm thinking of even like smaller schools and legendary people. Because when you think of big schools, maybe during this time, that it's hard for you to get them to commit, But the smaller schools, if they're retired, they can commit. And if smaller schools, they're not in season right now, really, because of COVID, probably, or a little bit slower for them to do something. So I would look at him, or even oh my gosh, his name just left my brain, but he used to be the coach at McHenry in Illinois. Harry Statham, that's the name. Harry